Christmas came early this year. Well, as I'm sure you guys have surmised by now, I got a lot of packages in the mail for the Warrior here. We're going to get her all fixed up, although I think this guy here on top is actually a little bit of goodies I found for the 4-tracks. So see, I'm not only buying stuff for the Warrior, I'm getting stuff for the 4-tracks too, because we're going to get started on it real soon. But while I was looking at stuff for my Warrior, I did happen to come across this find I'll share with you. That's a complete exhaust system for the 4-tracks. In good shape, because if you guys remember, the exhaust on the one I have is absolutely shot. One thing I will have to address though is probably the tailpipe. This is kind of just slapped together and I don't think it's going to hold up. So we'll put this aside for now. As far as the rest of the goodies go, I got this little box here that's full of parts for the rest of my fenders, you know, that bottom section piece. However, as I mentioned in the previous video, that stuff's on back order, so I'm not going to get that till next month, which is no big deal. Everything else that I need to get this guy up and running for time being is here, including a new carburetor I got that came with a nice little inline fuel filter I'll probably throw in there as well. And this is a Zoom Zoom carburetor. Again, it was only 35-40 bucks, and I'm sure this probably isn't as top quality as a stock Mintuni, but budget build. I just want to get this up and running good enough that I can get it out of here, start working on Zippy. And reviews on this weren't too bad. This is already set up with performance jets in it, so that'll help give us a little boost in performance as well. So we're going to throw this guy on today. Also got my new air box, and I ended up just getting the bottom. After looking around, I decided I can go ahead and reuse my top. My top's in good shape. The only thing that's wrong with the top is this one little tab is broke off. For time being, again, I'm not going to be running that much this winter. This is just to get it together in good enough shape. I can putt around a little bit till the snow gets deep. So I'm going to reuse the factory airbox lid. And then come next spring, next summer, I start riding this guy a little more, I'll go ahead and get the top again. I want to keep my funds building up so I can get parts for Zippy. So we'll make do with the stock airbox lid for now. And then finally, ooh, look at that. A new rear grab bar. Oh, up in plastic. Oh, gonna hulk out. Need a knife. You will not beat me. I will get you without using a knife. Ha! There she is. As you guys can see, I opted for the wide bar and not just the skinny bar, because again, this is going to be used for a lot of trail riding. The chances are I'll probably be getting into some mud and some situations where I may have to heft on the back to get it out of whatever I'm in. So I opted for the wide bar, and now I'll be able to mount my tail light on it. So, let's get this out of the way. Let's get to cracking. Hey, quick here, couple things I did off camera, as I was able to find a bolt for in here, so we got this all attached the way it should be. All these bolts that I showed you guys last video on this that were broke off in here, I managed to get every single one of them out. So the first thing we're going to do is throw in this new carburetor and get our air box in there. Then we'll start throwing the plastics back on and putting this beast back together. Alright, it's time to finagle this guy in here. Get her hooked up. That. still get our choke. Now I probably should take this plate off and get our throttle cable hooked up before I throw that on there actually. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so to hook the throttle cable up, we're going to take this little guy out of here. And the throttle cable will come in, wrap around that, go in through this guy, and then get pushed in there. Probably easier said than done, but we'll give her a shot. Just need a little work area here. Oh no, get back here. So it goes in here. Which goes in here. I got my head sticking in your guys' way. And there we go. Screws. Like that. You gotta drop at least one, I guess. Or else you feel like you're not accomplishing anything for the day unless you spend a couple minutes looking for the one you dropped. Now I'm gonna maneuver in their place. Sure we got clearance for our choke lever. We do. Alright. Throttle operation. Alright guys, we got the new carburetor in. She's looking all nice and shiny. So now the next thing we gotta do is get our air box in there. Before I do that, I gotta take this pipe off, transfer it over to the new one, and take a little drain cap here off the bottom, transfer over to the new one as well. One thing that is not in yet is my new air filter. I would have just cleaned this one up and reused it, but as you can see the foam around here is shut, so it's not going to get a good seal in there. So once the new one gets here, we'll get it thrown in. Use these bolts, I think they're in good enough shape. Supposed to be a support. Haha! I see something I didn't notice before. Well, I noticed it, but wondered what it was for. So here you can see there's this little tab right here. It looks like to be a support for our air box. So let's see if we can't get a hold of that and bend her back up in place. Channel locks, maybe. We can do it without adding a little heat, would be good. Just a little twisted. Easy enough. Let's see how close we are. There we go. Oh, I think that's gonna work. Put that in there. Oh, need to come up with that tab. Now, you know what? I may actually just leave her be right there where she's at. Because I think it's bent more than one way. So I'll be able to get a bolt in there right where she's at. Let's see, that's on there. Good for that. Set it in place, roughly. Now I gotta figure out what bolts I need for it. Alright, found some winners. Alright, I got a little mechanic trick for you here. If you look here in the climber's manual, for these side mount holes that are in our gas tank, which are up here, there is to be a little sleeve, a little collar basically, that goes across the bolt so it's not flopping around. I don't have those. However, one trick you can do is take and put a nut on like this, and then that'll act just like that collar is supposed to. It'll take up the slack, and then once it's bolted down, you won't have any play in this where this is bouncing up. So again, if you don't want to have to spend the money and you got a nut that'll work, go ahead and screw the nut on there, and that'll hold that in place and act just like that little collar. Ta-da! Gas tank secure. A lot better than what it was when I got her. Alright, I'm going to reuse a stock piece of fuel line that'll connect the shutoff to the carburetor. It's still nice and pliable. It's not a brittle. So we'll have to throw it on here and then find a spot for our fuel filter. Let's see, we'll give her a little snip right here. I'll trim a little bit of this line off so it's not about so far to go.
Daddy, watch it off, Daddy.
Okay, bud, thanks. Throw a couple little clamps on there, but now we got a nice fuel filter. We can see what kind of gas we got running through. So it's kind of nice. New carburetor. The company I got, the Zoom off of eBay or Amazon. Zoom off of Amazon. I'll leave a link for this carburetor in my description below. But they include a free fuel filter. Awesome. Alright, as you guys heard from my little guy, it is now lunchtime, so I'll check back in with you in a minute. I tell you what, toasted cheese and tomato soup sure hits a spot on a cold, snowy day. Look at it out there. Look at it. Kind of glad to be in here working. Anyway, where were we? Alright, we got the gas tank bolted on here. I think we'll go ahead. Now, I know I said in the last video I was going to order a new lid for this, but this one really isn't in bad condition. If I can get this piece off of here, I'm going to reuse it. So that's what I think I'll work on next. See if I can't get this chunk here off. And we'll throw this on here. And then we'll be ready to start throwing our plastics back on there, I believe. But yeah, we've got to get this fixed up here, this mess with the wires, so we don't have our short. That's probably what's doing it there. Yeah, we'll fix that up a little better, use some actual connectors. And we can start throwing some plastics back on. Cool beans! Well, it's no wonder I couldn't get it, because it's actually got a nut on the back side that was just spinning in there. So that must have broken off, and they cut it or grooved it or something to get that bolt in there, and then put it back together. I ended up just having to break this little piece that came off. Now I can get that bolt off, and the lid's going to be perfectly salvageable. Whew. Had me worried there for a minute. Take a little finagling. Get this old lid to match up to the new box. Alright, got it. Just had to loosen up all the screws so I could kind of form the air box to go back into shape. Well, we got it. I know some of you's probably cringing because I left that old air filter in there. Don't worry, I do have a new air filter coming. It's just not here yet, so once it gets here, we will throw that in there. As well as a new oil drain plug, because I've noticed I've got a puddle under here, and as I look, the drain plug is absolutely stripped out. I imagine the seal's gone. So I ordered a new drain plug as well, and we'll throw that in there. I'm gonna change the oil in this anyway before I rip and tear, so we'll swap that out at that point. So now let's throw some body panels back on this beast. Alright, quick change of plans. I think before I throw the body panels on, I'm going to go ahead and throw my rear grab bar on and get my tail light hooked up. That way I don't have anything in the way that's going to make it hard. But, oh well. This guy, I noticed it's going to be a little bit of a tight fit, probably, because it's an aftermarket part. I don't know if it, oh yeah, she'll go on. It's just going to take, maybe she'll go on. It'll take a bit of persuasion. What I may do is take this muffler off if it'll come off and get it out of the way so I can heave on it a little better. Alright, let's pull right apart there so we're in good shape. Way for the time being. Not be too bad. There. Okay, that wasn't too awful bad. So I can take my dead blow hammer, give her some love taps, get her on in place, get her meter. Alright, grab bar test. Oh yeah! Now it'll be good for getting stuck in the trail or in the mud and having to shimmy this guy around. So again, I found this tail light off of eBay. It's a little used, it's a little bent up. I'll straighten those before I go on, put it on. But it goes right in underneath here. And I believe there's little brackets that I got too. Now, the hardware for the tail light, as well as some fender pieces that I said are on back order, I got from Babbitt's online. They are a good place to get OEM replacement parts, hardware. They pretty much have everything for every machine out there. I know the stuff I got for the snowmobile came from Babbitt's, so if you guys are in need of a few nuts and bolts or parts here and there, chances are Babbitt's online is going to have it. Not a sponsor. If you want to sponsor me though, give me a call. Alright, tail light is on there. Actually, with this aftermarket grab bar, I didn't actually need all these pieces that I had got, but I'll have them for another use on something. Who knows? I'm sure I'll find a use for them later. But we got tail light on, so let's go ahead and slap our exhaust back on, and hopefully then we can start throwing these body panels back on. Oh, one of these days I'm going to eventually get to putting the body on here, but what I'm cutting to now is something I wanted to take care of first. Now, I told you guys that I do plan on probably next spring getting a different exhaust for this, but for time being I want to get this exhaust to fit a little better. You saw that none of it was lining up, it was just held on there on the back with just a pipe clamp. So what I did was I actually took and put a couple bolts in here to hold it, line this up, made sure the header piece was tight, and you can see the reason why it was like that, because when it's in place you can see here how this pipe is short, and it's probably because of whatever was done or whatever reason this was cut here. I don't know, maybe this had a hole in it and so they cut it to get rid of the hole. I don't know, I'll never know. But I want to do something. Again, this is mostly going to be setting, so what I did is I took this piece of flue pipe, and I'm just going to kind of make a makeshift clamp around this for now to make up that gap, strengthen that. Everything's lined up and bolted, and that'll get me by long enough that I can then eventually order a new exhaust for this. Alright, so here's my quick little patch piece, my little extension I guess, so where I still able to have my muffler bolted fast, and this actually was still, it's good and strong, it's in there tight. And again, this isn't a permanent thing, this is just to pretty much get it from here down to where I'm storing it for winter. And then come next spring when Zippy's all done and I have some funds saved back up, we'll go ahead and throw a full performance exhaust on this bad boy before we do any major ripping next year. So now I think we're finally ready to move on to putting the body panels back on. Alright guys, she's starting to look like a four-wheeler again. My battery ran dead, is why I didn't show you putting this piece on. But it's on. I got the tank cover on. I did still have to kind of mismatch bolts and stuff that I had. As you can see here, this is actually a push rivet I was able to use on this side. That's off the Pioneer 500. So I got my wires all fixed here. I soldered them, used shrink connectors, and then just taped the crap out of it so that it won't go anywhere. So all I got left to do is put a couple bolts in here. Put this piece on. My gauge pod on right there. My lights. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but my handlebars are all bent up. Again, I'm probably not going to worry about that this year. I'll worry about that come next year. See if I can straighten those up a little bit. Or get some new ones. Handlebars are 20-30 bucks. They're pretty cheap. So anyway, throw a couple bolts in here, and we'll get this front, I guess you'd call that the hood, or as they'd say in England, the bonnet.
Hey husband,
Yes?
could you take a look under the bonnet of my van? There's something awfully noisy.
Bonnet? You've been watching all those British cooking shows on Netflix again?
I think I sound better.
Okay. And we're getting close to firing this guy up for the first time. Well, there she is, all back together. I'd fire her up and take her for a spin now, but I do not want to run this guy until I get my oil changed, which I'm waiting for my drain plug to get here so I can switch that out. But everything's working now. My little problem there with the ignition is all fixed. I did notice I have one light that's not working now. I think they were both working. Don't quote me 100% sure on that. But as you guys can see now, I do also have a working tail light. So she's all back together. So the next time I see you guys when we're dealing with this project, we'll be firing her up and probably taking her for a spin if the snow isn't too deep. So before I go today, I want your guys' opinion. What should I do with the plastics on this guy? I'm not going to replace them, but I may at least paint them, wrap them. I'm actually debating on just taking some truck bed liner and just coating the whole plastics in truck bed liner. I know you guys can see here how these are awful stressed. You can take a heat gun and hit that with a heat gun and kind of work some of that out, but I think these guys, I mean, this is way too much to do with that. The back I might be able to get away with. I don't think there's too many stress marks on that. But again, this is going to be a little trail beater for me. So I'm thinking I'm just going to bed line all the plastics and be done with it. But you guys make sure to let me know in the comments below what you think I should do with them. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're new to my channel, and hit that little notification bell so you never miss an upload. And until next time, keep on riding. Appalachian Mountain Riders is brought to you in part by the following. The Honda Side-by-Side Club, because who knows the machines better than the owners that use them every day. Walker Evans Racing. When the path requires more than just ordinary, head on over to walkerevansracing.com. Torque Locker from Torque Masters Industries. When you want to explore the unexplored, head on over to torquemasters.com. And by my gracious supporters on Patreon.